Hi, it's Katrina. King Tut's sandals. Sandals and flip-flops are a pretty common type of shoe these days, but it turns out they have been around for thousands of years and haven't even changed that much. But where did they come from? It seems like almost back to the dawn of humanity. Their history dates at least as far back as ancient Egypt, but probably even further. Believe it or not, King Tut himself wore thong sandals. There have even been extensive studies on his 3,300-year-old footwear. King Tut's sandals were made from various materials, including gold, vegetable fiber, birch bark, glass, leather, gemstones, and glazed ceramic. The young ruler had a club foot and lacked a middle toe bone on his right foot, so he needed some special custom fancy sandals. He was buried with at least 80 pairs of shoes of different sizes, rivaling some of your closets, I'm sure. Some were falling apart, while others were found in great condition. Many of the shoes were stuffed in the middle of the sole to provide the ailing king with extra comfort. Experts identified several features that were not found in other ancient footwear, including the shoes found in the tomb of King Tut's grandparents, Yuya and Yuryu. These features include horizontal straps just below the toes and semicircular panels on the insides of the shoes. The question is, did he wear his sandals with socks? I'm guessing not. So, the next time you slip on your sandals to run to your mailbox or go grocery shopping, remember that you are continuing a long-held tradition. The Goddess of Death. The Goddess of Death statue was originally named the Woman of Lem because of the small town where it was discovered on the island nation of Cyprus. The statue was unearthed in 1878, and most experts agree that it dates back at least 3,000 years. The Woman of Lem became known as the Goddess of Death after those who owned the statue either died or experienced unimaginable suffering almost immediately after acquiring it. The statue was first created thousands of years ago to depict an ancient fertility goddess, probably by an ancient civilization living in the Mediterranean. After it was dug out of the ground, a British colonial named Lord Elfont got his hands on the relic. Unfortunately for him, he and 6 members of his family died under mysterious circumstances within just a few years of obtaining the cursed relic. The next owner was a man named Ivor Manucci, and his entire family was dead within just a couple of years of coming into contact with the Goddess of Death. The same thing then happened to the third owner of the statue, a man named Lord Thompson Noel. He and his whole family were dead in a handful of years. The last private owner of the statue was a guy named Sir Alan Biverbrook, and he died with his wife and his 2 daughters after buying the cursed object. This left his sons to care for the obviously dangerous artifact, but instead of risking their lives, they donated it to the Royal Museum in Edinburgh, Scotland. Unfortunately, when the museum decided to put the statue on display, the curator who physically touched the artifact and put it in its case died shortly thereafter. And since then, the Goddess of Death has remained safely behind glass. Lost Labyrinth. The discovery of a mysterious lost labyrinth, previously believed to be a mythical structure, is yet another enigma from ancient Egypt. This newest discovery was made at an archaeological site near the city of Dashur, around 60 miles from Cairo. This site contains the mysterious Black Pyramid of the pharaoh Amenemhat III. His pyramid stands beside the ruins of what was once a complex system of courtyards and galleries. This stuff was all found in the 1800s, with Egyptologists back then believing they had found the remains of an ancient city. But in 2008, archaeologists with the Mataha expedition made a truly shocking find beneath the sand. They uncovered a great lost labyrinth, something said to have been even more complicated to build than the pyramids themselves. It was a huge structure, a series of thousands upon thousands of underground halls, temples, and chambers. But it was all buried 2,000 years ago, lost to the Egyptian desert. Today, there is very little left of the Great Labyrinth. A few rocky foundations and stone towers are all that prove it was ever here at all. The biggest mystery is that archaeologists can't figure out what it was used for. Imagine an underground maze so big you could literally get lost inside of it and die of starvation. Perhaps it was even home to a mythical beast. What it was actually for is the real mystery. What would you do with a labyrinth? Let me know in the comments below. Bronze Age Hoard. While excavating at an ancient fortified settlement in central France last year, archaeologists unearthed Bronze Age pottery packed to the brim with hundreds of pieces of jewelry and other artifacts. They believe that the pots were buried around 800 BC. Nearly 3,000 years ago, 2 vessels were filled with women and children's jewelry, including bracelets, anklets, and pendants. Another pot contained tools and weapons, while yet another one consisted of chariot decorations, riding equipment, and wheel parts. A bronze axe was placed on top of each vessel. Researcher Pierre-Yves Milson said that the items could be offerings to the gods that were left at either the founding of the settlement or when it was abandoned, similar to ancient Greek traditions. He described the well-preserved artifacts as exceptional and explained that these objects will help experts better understand their purpose and why they were buried. But more digging and studying are necessary to truly get to the bottom of this fascinating mystery. The Anguished Man. The Anguished Man is a famous oil painting believed to be one of the most haunted things in the entire world. The legend states that the Anguished Man was created by an unknown artist, and apparently it was crafted with paint mixed with the artist's own blood. After the work was completed, the artist took his own life. Today, the Anguished Man is owned by a man named Sean Robinson in England. He inherited the painting from his grandmother, who warned him to be careful because the painting is cursed. Would you accept a painting like this? I don't think so. After taking the painting home, Robinson's wife did not like the look of it, so she forced him to keep it in the basement. But after the basement flooded in 2010, Robinson was forced to take the Anguished Man and put it upstairs. Well, forced? I mean, he could have just gotten rid of it. Almost immediately after, Robinson would wake up in the night to see a dark figure standing faceless in his bedroom. His wife too woke up in the middle of the night to find a horribly disfigured person sleeping on the bed next to her. Both have since been severely traumatized by the painting. Stonehenge Solved. When you think about ancient mysteries, Stonehenge is probably the first one that comes to mind. And yes, it is pretty mysterious. Over the years, we have uncovered more and more secrets about this place. We know it was built 5,000 years ago by an unknown civilization, and the stones used to build it came from 180 miles away. But one of the biggest problems with trying to unravel the mystery of Stonehenge has been trying to figure out how they brought the stones from so far away, some of which weigh 25 tons. Well, it looks like the mystery may have finally been solved. A carpenter from North Wales has recreated the forgotten machine that he said the ancient people used to move the rock. He actually rebuilt the contraption to back up his theory on how the stones were transported, and it's been hailed by experts as one of the most credible explanations ever given. His machine is nothing short of spectacular. It has a circular board balanced on a pair of planks, with the board itself sitting on rockers and wooden feet. The machine magically defied gravity by slowly moving just about any weight, keeping the center of mass hovering over the wooden feet. Basically, the huge stones would have been suspended as if in mid-air during transport, with the machine slowly inching forward as workers kept the main plank steady and other workers pivoted the feet. This would have taken a long time, but it would have allowed ancient people to move rocks 25 tons with nothing more than some planks of wood and a good understanding of physics. Evidence of alien contact. According to ancient aliens, the Maya, along with many ancient cultures, seem to have had knowledge of math and science that came directly from the gods. How was their knowledge so advanced? It must have been ancient astronauts that came down to Earth, but when wars began and natural disasters struck, civilizations fell, and these alien visitors left Earth, taking their technology with them. In 2011, a Mexican government official announced that a new documentary and a collection of recently declassified artifacts would soon prove that the Mayans had contact with ancient aliens. Raul Julia Levy, who produced the film titled Revelations of the Mayans 2012 and Beyond, told Reuters that the Mexican government would soon release codices, artifacts, and significant documents proving the documentary's claims. At the time, the items were being kept in secure underground vaults, according to a press release from State of Campeche Tourism Minister Luis Augusto Garcia. He also spoke of the alleged presence of 3,000-year-old spacecraft landing pads in the Central American jungle. Julia Levy claimed that for thousands of years, the Mayans planned to rule the planet, but some unwelcome otherworldly visitors reportedly showed up and left behind evidence of their presence. That's why people should take them seriously, because what they are going to share with us is crucial to human survival. The filmmakers promised to back up their claims with factual evidence, but as I'm sure you're not surprised to learn, this hasn't happened yet. Perhaps the most surprising aspect of the whole ordeal is that they managed to get a government official's backing. In 2018 and 2019, archaeologists made incredible discoveries in Mexico, from a treasure trove of artifacts in a cave to an entire lost city the size of Manhattan. The incredible discoveries are putting the Maya back on the map, and everyone is excited about what we might find next. The Amber Man. Around 3400 BC, a man's body was painted with red ochre and laid to rest with 140 pieces of amber jewelry in what is now Russia. Archaeologists recently discovered the shallow burial on the western shore of Lake Onega, which is Europe's second largest lake. The artifacts include amber buttons that were sewn face down into a leather cover that was draped over the man's body. Nicknamed the Amber Man, he was surrounded by 2 layers of amber decorations. It's the first time these objects have been found outside the Eastern Baltic region. In addition to the amber artifacts, the team found flint tools and chips. Right next to the site, archaeologists found workshops for making axes and other tools. They are currently investigating these ancient production facilities to see if they are linked to the Amber Man. Researchers think that he may have been a trader from the Eastern Baltic region, which would explain how the amber artifacts ended up so far from where they were made. It's possible that he traveled to Lake Onega to trade amber in exchange for axes, reflecting a possible trading link between the Eastern Baltic and the Karalia peoples. The Haunted Mirror. In Louisiana, there is a place called the Myrtles Plantation, and it is believed to be one of the most haunted homes in all of the United States. There are dozens of horrifying legends surrounding this plantation and its more than 200-year-old history. However, there is one particular object that is believed to be more cursed than anything else in the house. It's known as the Haunted Mirror because of the mysterious handprints that seem to be coming from behind the glass. The legend states that a slave named Chloe poisoned 3 members of the Woodruff family by sneaking toxic ingredients into a cake. The lady of the plantation was killed along with her 2 daughters, and somehow all 3 of them got stuck inside of the old mirror. Visitors to the Myrtles Plantation have reported seeing handprints on the glass that apparently belong to the 3 dead Woodruff women who are still stuck inside the mirror. Other people report seeing a curious residue along the edges of the mirror that has been unidentifiable and uncleanable. And finally, visitors claim that sometimes there are people inside the mirror wearing old-fashioned clothing. It's not sure what exactly the curse entails or why the women are stuck in the mirror, but many people definitely believe that their souls will be trapped inside of it forever. The Cursed Tomb. In 1973, archaeologists opened perhaps the second most cursed tomb in the entire world. This was the tomb of the Polish king Casimir IV Jagiellon, found in Krakow, Poland. Several archaeologists involved in the excavation of the tomb died shortly after it was opened. Media agencies immediately began to link the devastation involved with the king's tomb with what happened 50 years prior in Egypt, when many of those involved with Howard Carter's archaeological team passed away after opening King Tut's tomb. But in the case of the Polish king, he hadn't been buried for nearly as long as the Egyptian pharaoh. He had only been resting inside of his tomb for 500 years. Interestingly enough, when the excavations began, archaeologists were worried that the tomb may have been pillaged by the Russians during World War II, just as the Russians had done with many other royal tombs throughout Poland. The king had been buried inside the chapel of Wawel Castle after his death in 1492, and finally the world would see what kind of treasures the man had been buried with. But unfortunately, the only treasures seemed to be more of a curse than a blessing. After a couple of days, 4 members of the 12-person dig team died from infections and strokes. And then, over the course of the next few years, no less than 15 people who worked closely with the tomb died simply from coming into contact with the remains of the dead Polish king. Thanks for watching! Do you believe in curses, or do you think dolls can be haunted? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time!